Welcome to our Masterclass training with Martin Wittmann. Today we will host our third training of 2026. So before we start, I would like to remind one important announcement for only Turkish-speaking participants. Sevgili Türk misafirlerimiz, çeviri seçeneği sizler için Zoom paneli içerisindeki çeviri ikonunda mevcut. Oradan Türkçe kanala giderseniz Türkçe olarak dinleyeceksiniz. And for other country participants, we have Wordly translation option. You can go to the Wordly link in the chat box you will find now. Please go to the Wordly page with this link and select your own language for the translation. And please also tap the speaker icon so you can hear the translation. Today our topic is Healy's ecosystem. I mean, how Healy combines different technologies in one ecosystem to benefit your holistic health. This is the topic of today, and I would like to hand over right away to Martin. Hey, Martin, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Thank you.
It is yours.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, as Aleph already said, it's about how Healy combines different technologies in one ecosystem. And that's, I think, the most important part to understand about the Healy universe. It's not one single technology, it's not one single application. It's a holistic approach to holistic health. Holistic from the technology point of view, holistic from the view point of view, and holistic for the vision of the company. So let's dive into the details. I just share my screen. So yes, now you can see it. Perfect. Okay. And here we go. First, our little notice and a little disclaimer. And one ecosystem, 5 technologies, and one goal. So that's what we will now explore a little more in detail. So how do we combine those different technologies to actually support holistic health? Not only body health or mental health or emotional health, no, all of those things, and we will see that later. One important part is, of course, the graphics on the right side. There you see all the different technologies that we use, and we will see them more in detail right away. So, but first I want to start, of course, with the ground base. So this is, for me, it's always the base of Healy. It's that we have a device that was approved as a medical device in more than 35 countries. So a huge part of the world we basically covered with medical certifications, and very difficult countries as Europe or regions as Europe and Singapore and so on. And what we did to achieve this was, of course, we developed it with really high qualified engineers, physician, testing personnel, and of course, it's grounded in scientific research. So otherwise, you cannot get a medical device, because do you need to get a medical device for microstimulation for all those indications that we have? You need, first of all, to pass all tests and procedures. And this is electrical safety, this is electromagnetic safety. And that's also the nice thing if you have this as a medical standard in Europe, because everywhere else in the world, you simply hand in your documents and say, here's a CB report for the device, and no questions asked, because that's all you need usually. And the other side is, of course, that you need a clinical evaluation. So you need lots of clinical data, lots of studies, and this needs to be verified by a notified body. So someone external, an external company, then looks through the whole thing, through the electrical safety, technical documentation, usability, clinical research, clinical evaluation, all those things at the same time. And only if everything is perfect, then you get a certification, and then you can sell as a medical device. So this is the ground base, and this is, for me, one of the most important pillars of Healy World. And we also did, of course, a PMCF study, which is also required from the notified body, and that's to basically show that your device does what the clinical evaluation shows. So the clinical evaluation is studies of all kinds of devices. I think you all know that microcurrent stimulation is there for like 80 years or something, and there were lots of studies done with this. But to do it with your own device is, of course, something that's a little different. So you basically prove that whatever your clinical evaluation says, you actually perform in real life. And that's what a PMCF study is. It's a real life study. And we basically confirmed with this study that we actually have a positive effect on chronic pain, pain for musculoskeletal system, fibromyalgia, migraine, depression, anxiety, and related sleep disorders. But of course, very important, it's for the supportive treatment of depression and anxiety and related sleep disorders. So you cannot replace your normal medication, but you can do it additionally and have a very positive effect. Now start with the first level, and that's microcurrent. I mean, the medical device certification is also based on microcurrent, but of course, with microcurrent, you can do a lot more than just treat a few diseases. You can also support the body on all kinds of levels. And of course, we use the Healy device for that. As you see, we use cables and electrodes, and of course, the one thing that microcurrent does and that everyone knows is it's for the smallest building blocks in our body, the cells. So microcurrent is known to modulate the cell membrane. So there are small valves, and those valves are needed to get things in the cell, things out of the cell. And if you get things out of the cell, it's usually toxins, waste products, and in the cell, it's usually nutrition. And if you can support this, of course, it's very positive for the cells. And what we are using is individualized microcurrent frequency technology. What does that mean? It's not only that we use different currents. I mean, you can increase between 0 and, I don't know, 1 milliampere, for example, but we also use different frequencies, and different frequencies is from 1 hertz or 0.1 hertz to 1 megahertz, so more than 9 million different frequencies that we can apply. And then, of course, we have individualized microcurrent frequencies. So the frequencies that we apply are individualized. So we use our information field technology. So we use the resonance sensor with the quantum noise source generator to actually analyze what frequency is now the best one for you, or now the one that you resonate most with. And but on the physical level, of course, those currents that we apply are on the same level as your body current. So through your whole body, all the time current is flowing. If I move my hand, if I move my arm, then a current is needed that the signal is transported, that your muscle actually moves. So currents is something that's very natural for the body. So we basically mirror this current. And of course, imbalances can be traced down to the smallest building blocks. So if your cells don't work properly, your body most likely will also not work properly. And as I already said, the most or one of the, and that's also important in the slides that I show, I can only show, of course, a few effects. And one effect is, of course, of microcurrent, the ion channel regulation. So you have this cell metabolism that you support through microcurrent application. The next level is the high frequency carrier wave technology. So here we apply an electrical field to carry the frequencies through the whole body. And we're using the Healy HighWave for that. So how does that work? So first of all, we have an electrical field to carry the frequencies through the whole body, which means it's not a microcurrent, it's not a magnetic field, no, it's an electrical field. So that's something different because an electrical field is then in the whole body at the same time with the same strength, basically. And at the end of the day, it's a different way to communicate with the body. And of course, we can also get to the mitochondria. As you see in the graphics here, very nicely, we can easily pass into the cell through the cell membrane using the high frequency carrier wave. So this carrier wave enables us to basically pass the shield of the cell and get the frequency information into the cells also. Then I will immediately jump to magnetic field technology. So now we come to the MagHealy, so our second core device. And there you get magnetic field support for circulation, for example. And that's, of course, only one effect that you get, because otherwise this presentation would take too long if I go to every effect. And here we have, for example, that with this pulsed electromagnetic fields, and that's also important to understand, we have pulsed electromagnetic fields, which means we have a frequency from 0.1 hertz to 12.5 megahertz. So that's even much more frequencies than the Healy has. And there we can modulate the frequencies with two coils at the same time. So you have two frequencies at the same time are also possible. And that's also quite funny, because if you have such high frequencies, you also get a problem with electromagnetic safety if you talk about microcurrent stimulation. So that's also a very special thing here, that we can use such high frequencies with the full power of the magnetic field. And of course, one thing that is magnetic field is known for is that the perfusion is much better. So you get a better perfusion, especially in the small arteries. And there in the periphery, usually, the perfusion is very bad if you don't do sports or something, because then your blood pressure is of course higher, and you also get in the distant parts of the body. But if you have, for example, I don't know, muscle aches or something like that, usually it helps if the perfusion is better to have a faster regeneration. And that you can, of course, support with pulsed electromagnetic fields. The next level is magnetic quantum potential technology. And that's quantum potential that reaches into the bioenergetic field. So what are we doing? We're using the Healy coil now to actually pass into the bioenergetic field directly. So you don't have too much physical effect here. So you have more an effect on the coherence of the bioenergetic field. So what is happening? So you have two magnetic fields that actually cancel each other out, and what remains is the quantum potential. And the quantum potential you use to communicate with your bioenergetic field. So the bioenergetic field is basically a field that you generate all the time. So as we already learned, current is passing through your muscles. Everywhere where current is passing, there's also a magnetic field generated. So those two things always are coexistent. So one cannot be without the other. So if you have a magnetic field, you also usually have some current, some ions moving, and that's also happening in the body. So if you apply a magnetic field, the ions that you have in your body are moving according to this magnetic field. So those effects you can, of course, also use. And in our case, the Healy coil uses simply quantum potential or vector potential to actually get the frequency information in this bioenergetic field that we are constantly creating. So I always make the example with the heart. I once had a course that's magnetism in medicine when I studied, Master of Biomedical Engineering. And there we went to a lab, and they had a shielded room, and they had a gradiometer inside. And this gradiometer was nitrogen cooled. And it was very big, like a small car. And they used this gradiometer, put it in front of the heart, and then they could measure the magnetic field. And there you could see through this gradiometer the ECG. So a real ECG. So basically your heart rhythm with a magnetic field. So we are creating such an magnetic field and electrical fields all the time with our body, and that's our bioenergetic field. And if you tap into this bioenergetic field, you of course can also increase the coherence with the right frequencies. Then you have, last but definitely not least, the information field technology. So information that actually aims for balance, which means we want to harmonize, of course, this information field and get the important informations out of the information field. So what do we use? We use a quantum noise generator to analyze resonances in the information field. So whatever you go in resonance with, we find it. And what do you go in resonance with? What you focus on. So if you run a frequency program, you want the frequencies to help you with whatever you have as an issue or an imbalance. Same goes for information field analyzers. So if you analyze in the information field, you want the information that helps you to overcome whatever emotional, psychological problem. So there you actually find the right information, and then you can also send the right information to restore this balance that we need. And to sum it all up, I love this graphics because there you can understand that our universe that we are living in does not only consist of the molecular body. So you have the molecular body, but you also have the electromagnetic body. As we already learned, there's constant currents and magnetic fields generated by our body. So we are an electromagnetic being. And there, of course, you have biophotons, you have the cell membrane potential that we also talked about, that you have a microcurrent that can modulate the cell membrane, ion channels. Then you have quantum processes, there where you use or we use the resonance sensor. And then we have the bioenergetic field that we also constantly have around us because we are generating this field. And then even higher, we have the individual and the global information field. And as you can see on the left side, you have matter, and there you have information. So we are using with our technologies both. Some only work with matter, some only work with information, but we use all of it. We use matter and information, and we even combine it. So we use the information that we get and apply it on matter. So we use it to find the resonance frequencies and pass them immediately into the body through electrodes and of course also into the bioenergetic field. And here you can see in the individual information field, this basically contains three pillars, and that's the body, the soul, and the mind. And here it gets really interesting because we are not only matter, we are not only our body, we are also our mind, as we, of course, easily understand, to think and do things like create creative things on a picture, on something you draw. Nowadays, you do it with your computers. That's easy to understand. But then we have, of course, one of the most important parts, and that's the soul. And if you want to understand the soul, you need to go a little deeper. And that's why I created this next graphics. And there you have one system, 5 level of support. And this is a technology overview. And on the left side, you see here the information field analyzed, the Healy coil, the Healy, the MagHealy, and the HighWave. You find those on the right side to know which matter or which device or which technology we use on which level. And for me, those 5 levels here are the core levels. You have, of course, more levels or can have sub-levels, but those are the core levels. And of course, we start from the bottom, and that's the material level. Everyone understands the material level. If you have microcurrent, that basically improves the cell membrane potential, or you have magnetic field that improves the circulation, that's easy to understand. Or the electrical field that passes into the mitochondria, gives there the right frequencies. And those are the 3 physical devices and 3 physical matters that we apply. Then you have the energy level, and there it's more about coherence and actually bringing things in a orderly, or not in an orderly, in a balanced way again. Because usually you think, yeah, when everything is in perfect order, then it's good. And chaos is the wrong thing. But that's not true. There's always a balance between chaos and order. If it's too rigid, it cannot work. If it's too chaotic, it cannot work. But the balance between those two, there actually life exists at its best. And that's where we basically tap into the energy level. And then comes the information level. And as you see there, we have the information field technology. So we use this to find positive information patterns and harmonize them with positive information in the information field or the right frequencies. So there, the frequencies play a crucial role because every frequency, of course, has a certain effect. And if you know about those effects and apply the right frequencies and find the right frequencies for you, because everyone is different and our body is changing constantly with all those billion cells that we have. And the next level, level 4, is then the emotional level. And there we also have information field analysis. And there we use our analysis app, the Heal Advisor Analyze app. And with this analysis function, you find affirmations through a guided focus. And what you have with those affirmations are realizations. So if you look, and that's what I always recommend, if you read through analysis results, and then you understand, that's my problem. So I always do that, and I read through it, and I think, yeah, that's what I need to work on. Obviously, that's now something that blocks me to actually succeed in life, to actually progress in life. And there, of course, the emotional level is, or your emotions are very, very crucial. Because emotions is nothing you can control. Emotion is nothing you can say, yes, that's the wrong emotion. You're wrong in feeling this. No, emotions are there. You feel something. If you want to feel it or if you don't want to feel it, doesn't matter. It's there. But the question is, why is it there? And what to do with this emotion? What's the reason? What's the source of this emotion? And what is the message of this emotion? And that, I think, is the most important thing, because if you understand why this emotion is there, then you realize what you can do to improve. And you realize what is actually wrong. Because my wife always says, yeah, I first feel it and then I'm angry and so on. And I don't know really why this is the case. And afterwards, I realize, that's why. And then she's very sorry because she did something maybe yeah, make someone feel sad because she was angry or something. But it's because an emotion wants to tell her, okay, this is wrong. The emotion is completely right. The question is how you react to this emotion and how you treat others in this emotional state. And if you get this, let's say, untangled with the right analysis, that can move mountains. And of course, last but definitely not least, the psychological level. So there, it's really about to understand how my mind works, how are are my actions perceived, and how do I perceive actions of others. So on this psychological level, you can of course also use the information field analysis and see what patterns are actually there that you see. Maybe that's what I do. That's the reason why I'm actually perceived like I'm perceived by others. So psychological level and emotional level are of course quite entangled, but you need to address them in a different way. And now we come to almost the last slide, and that's the synergy. So how do those levels actually work together? And the first thing is, of course, we use the language that the body understands. And this is present in every moment of our life. The moment that we are alive in the belly of our mother, we have microcurrent flowing through our bodies. We have a magnetic field, we have an electrical field. And this is the language that our body speaks. And we are talking exactly in this language to the body. And then, as I already mentioned, every frequency has a unique effect. So if you find the right frequency, you have a very unique effect exactly on the thing that you need. And that's why we use information field analysis to find the right frequency individually for the person. That is using the Healy or MagHealy. And of course, we use information field analysis to find underlying causes. So what is the real reason behind all this? And to, of course, strengthen, respectively, the emotional and the psychological state that you are in. So the combination is, of course, that's what we are striving for. So if you have the combination of physical effects on your body, on matter, basically, and combine it with the emotional effects, the psychological effects, and the information effects that you get, then you have a much more powerful combination than if you would only use one of them. And you see it very nice in this graphics that we basically combine those three things with an analyze and actually applying it immediately to the body. And now the last slide, why does this actually matter? So health actually is a complex interplay of many factors. So if you are very, very healthy from a body state of view, but you're very unhappy, you will also feel sick, even if your body says you are not sick. And the other way around also. If you're very, very happy, but you don't take care of your body, you will also feel sick. So holistic health goes, of course, one step further. It includes then also emotions and meaning. And meaning is a very powerful word if you actually think about it in depth, because meaning is something that everyone unconsciously strives for. We want to do something that actually makes sense. If something doesn't make sense, we are not so really happy to do it. So if we are doing something that means something to us and is basically fulfilling our meaning in life, then we are actually quite happy usually. And that's the last thing on the slide, and that's true holistic health. Is the state where you can develop personally and follow your true purpose of your soul. And I think this is the one and most important sentence in this whole presentation. Because what are we doing all our lives? We are struggling from day to day. We have lots of challenges usually, but we always develop personally. So we develop one step further. The world becomes a little bigger. And when you're a small child, you have small challenges. If you're a bigger child, you have bigger challenges. And if you're older, you have even bigger challenges. But you always develop further and you always find what actually is your true meaning. And that's at the end of the day, your soul purpose. So if you find what drives your soul or what drove your soul into the world, why did you incarnate in this body, in this environment? Is it just to live and die? Just to eat and drink and die? Usually it's not. Usually it's because you have something to give to this world, to give to this world, to give to your the people around you. You have a unique gift. Everyone has a unique gift. And if you find this unique gift and get rid of all the traumata that basically hold you back from being personally very developed and healthy, if you have this state, this new state of happiness, when you are personally developed, when you find your soul purpose, follow your soul purpose, then you find true happiness. And if you find true happiness, that's for me true holistic health, because then everything is in balance. And yeah, just what I can tell you is go beyond what you thought was actually possible. Thank you.